Coming up on Tech News Today, there's a Skype for Android vulnerability, and we talk to the Android police to find out what you really need to worry about. Also, a couple of cool Windows 8 leaks, and the government wants to eliminate passwords. Is that a good idea? We'll talk about it next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Friday, April 15th, 2011. Tech News Today is brought to you by Netflix. Watch thousands of TV episodes and movies streamed to your PC, Mac, or TV instantly. Plus, get DVDs by mail in about a business day. For your free 30-day trial, go to netflix.com/twit. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Sarah Lane.
I'm Iyaz Akhtar.
I'm Jason Howell.
And this is the show where we kick around the tech news of the day. We read the feeds and try to interpret it for you. Make a little sense.
Forward, backward,
of what is
vertical.
going on. Yep.
Diagonal, even.
I'm going to read this first story backward. Data personal you're exposed could Android for Skype Bug.
Exactly.
You don't say.
Yes. So, this making the rounds, discovered by the folks at Android Police that there is a bug in the Skype for Android, not the version for Verizon, but the version you'd get out of the Android marketplace. Essentially, a permissions problem in the Skype directory folder allows a malicious app to get all of your info out of there. Here to kind of help us understand it is Chris Dehghanpoor, writer for Android Police. Thanks for being on the line with us, Chris. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
So, as I understand it, you would have to download not only a particular version of Skype, but then you'd also have to download some sort of malicious software that took advantage of the bug. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, basically, and what's scary about that is that the software that you download only requires minimal Android permissions. So when you look at the permissions that the app requires, it doesn't need a huge list of permissions that would indicate that it may be doing something shady. It just requires, I think, access to a storage device and one other permission that, are pretty common. So it could be pretty easy to download a malicious app and not even realize, that it's accessing this data.
And what kind of data is it able to get? Like once it accesses Skype and says, okay, I can see that folder. Does it just guess your username and then pull out your user data file?
That's what's also kind of scary is it doesn't even need to do that. All the information is pretty much cached and stored by Skype in unencrypted SQLite databases that a malicious app can straight up read. In our article, the hacker, our resident hacker that discovered it just in case, has an example where he basically just grabbed an XML file, grabbed the username, and then was able to access other files that had all sorts of good information.
So I guess the only thing to do right now to protect yourself is either just not use the Skype app for Android or be extra careful what apps you do download and what permissions you give them. What should Skype do to fix this, though? What can they do?
Well, they should either find a way to encrypt the SQLite databases, which, to be honest, not being a programmer myself, I'm not sure how difficult or feasible that is, or correct the file permissions so that they're not readable by other applications on the system.
It seems like that would be the easiest thing to do, is just correct the permissions. Skype says they're aware of the vulnerability and they're working quickly on a fix. Now, it isn't all versions of Skype for Android either. There's a Verizon version that doesn't have this problem. Do you know why that is?
No, I'm actually not sure why exactly the Verizon version is immune. What's kind of funny is, if I recall, the leaked version where this was originally discovered did come from a Verizon phone. I could be wrong on that, but so I'm not sure why the existing Verizon version seems to be immune from this.
Well, they are two different applications. If you have a Verizon phone, you can download the regular Skype application that all Android phones use. I know that. And then there's a Verizon version of Skype that allows it to take advantage of the Verizon network for certain operations. So I guess they got the permissions right in that version or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it seems to be.
Are you guys going to continue to do follow-ups on this story and let people know once it gets fixed and all of that sort of thing?
Yeah, we've been in contact with Skype somewhat and speaking with them and trying to figure it out. And we've been updating the original story as updates come in. So we'll definitely keep following up and posting updates to the blog.
Chris, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us and kind of explain this to us. If you want to follow up on what they're doing at Android Police, check it out at androidpolice.com. Thanks again, Chris.
Thanks very much. You guys have a great day.
All right, you too. On to Windows 8. There's been a leaked version of Windows 8 kicking around on the torrents, and folks are discovering more and more about it all the time. Couple of things on Engadget today. One is it will feature a USB runnable portable workspace so that you'd be able to just export Windows 8 onto a number of USB drives. Doesn't seem to have a limit, at least at this point in the development of the software, and just have easy to install Windows on a stick.
Yeah, there is a way to do that right now with Windows if you want. You can always have a bootable copy of it on a USB. It's not exactly easy. With Microsoft making this simple, I still think it's a little bit behind considering there's all this cloud integration with everything else. They also have, I think there's Microsoft Azure. I'm really unsure why they just don't work with the cloud systems instead of requiring you to have a 16 gigabyte USB stick.
Well, yeah,
In certain situations, I think having the USB stick in your back pocket is actually easier than getting something off the cloud, depending on where you are.
Well, yeah, any machine becomes your machine. You don't always need online access, but I just think it's
faster than waiting on a cloud
That's
space,
true.
I guess, in most cases.
I mean, it's an interesting idea, but I'm not really sure the full implications other than enterprise.
Yeah, enterprise seems to be the main implication here. If I'm in IT, I can have a few portable workspaces when I go around and troubleshoot that I can pop in there and have all my tools on that.
Or if you were using, I guess, public computers regularly at a library or something like that, this could be a nice way to just keep the way you want things, the way you want them, and not have to sit down at some crappy old machine.
Well, if you go into the public library with a USB stick with Windows 8, it probably is going to crush those little computers, I would imagine.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
You're talking about Windows 8. You're gonna
Hey, the San Francisco Library is very high-tech, Iyaz.
Oh, I've got to check it out then.
Also, a new build has been leaked out, build 7955. The old one that was kicking around was 7850, and Engadget reports that this new build shows a few of the Metro flourishes. Metro is the user interface used on Windows Phone 7. You can catch a glimpse of the Windows Phone 7 inspired login screen and a video from winfuture.de. It also gives you the ability to set a video as your user tile now.
You know, I've been thinking about this for a bit. Now, does this mean that the operating system itself has gotten to the point where there's very little you can do under the hood to the point where they have to skin it, make it look really pretty, and go with this Metro UI? I mean, is there nothing else for the operating system to do at this point? Like, have we reached a critical point?
Wait a minute, say that again?
Have we reached a critical point in operating systems?
So you're saying it's too pretty?
No. I'm just saying that, like, if this is the big deal, like we're skinning an OS to make it different, is there any other improvements to the system other than running on ARM? That kind of thing?
Well, I mean, that's unfair, isn't it? I mean, these are just a couple of leaked things that people have latched on.
I'm just curious to see, like,
cool.
if the effort's going into the interface, is there nothing under the hood that needs to be fixed anymore?
Oh no, I think there's some things under the hood that probably need to be fixed. But
probably the people
those
working
are harder
on the
to
things
see.
under the hood are not the same people working on design.
Yeah, those are harder to see in a leak.
This is true.
It's when you're writing your blog post, it's easy to go, hey, video tile.
Right, and if you do put up the code, it might bore people to tears.
Am I the only person who doesn't want a video tile?
No, you are not the only person.
I mean, it reminds me of like animated GIFs and people's Twitter avatars where I'm like, it's just very distracting.
Please stop that.
Yeah.
Better news comes from Intel and Micron's joint venture called IM Flash Technologies. They have announced they have shrunk the size of NAND flash memory to 20 nanometers, or as I used to say to annoy one particular listener of Buzz Out Loud, nanometers. What it means, 128 gigabyte flash can now be smaller than a postage stamp. So you got more space in a smaller area. 8 gigabyte flash takes up 30 to 40% less circuit board space, leaving more room for other things like a bigger battery, a bigger screen, another chip on the die. And the best part is cost of making the 20 nanometer NAND flash drops to 33 cents per gigabyte currently is 50 cents per gigabyte to make 25 nanometer NAND flash. So we get smaller flash and cheaper for our mobile devices.
Well, do you think we're going to get smaller electronics? Do you think the electronics will stay the same size and get larger batteries? What do you think we're going to see first?
Probably both.
I want larger batteries.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would
Because
rather
that
have,
just means more battery life.
yeah, more battery life for me would be a lot better. I'm really sick of it's thinner, it's really sleek, but
Don't
the
care.
battery life.
Yeah, want battery life.
But then you'll at CES next year, there'll be that booth of the smallest
Yeah, for
everythings
sure.
in the world. And they'll have tiny little batteries, but they'll be smaller than
our battery life is 30 minutes.
My pinky.
But it is as big as Sarah's pinky. And Sarah's pinky's extra small.
Barely see it.
We're just saying. You need a microscope to
It's
see
like a
it.
speck on a pinky.
She has a 20 nanometer pinky. All right, let's take a quick break and thank our sponsors at Netflix. Netflix.com delivers streaming videos and DVDs. Streamed videos go directly to your PC or Mac or your television. You got, I don't know, Boxy Box. You got Google TV. You got Roku. You're like, I don't have any of those specialty devices. I bet you got an Xbox 360, a PS3, or a Nintendo Wii. All of those things can stream Netflix right to your television, and you can still get DVDs by mail in about a business day. There are great movies streaming all the time on Twitter, on Netflix. That's what I get for looking at something while I'm trying to talk. On Netflix. And what was the zombie movie that I was just seeing earlier?
Was it Zombieland?
Because you were saying Gone with the Wind, and we were talking about,
Well, I chose
Hunt for
Gone
Red
with the Wind the
October.
other day.
Zombie Women of Satan.
Oh.
From 2009. Second most popular being mentioned on Twitter in the last 24 hours.
You're kidding.
For streaming on Netflix. Yep.
Is it a cult classic of some kind?
I believe it must be. And you could stream it right now for free if you want to try out Netflix and the free trial. Go to netflix.com/twit and be sure to sign up for the free trial there. That way we get the credit for it at netflix.com/twit. Instantly watch Zombie Women of Satan, or maybe The Hunt for Red October or Gone with the Wind.
Terminator.
Terminator's
on instant. Who
That's
doesn't like
another
the
good one.
Terminator once a year?
Well, you can stick with the family kind of classic. There's Toy Story. There's Pixar films on there too.
TV episodes, though, the whole seasons of Firefly,
A family
Buffy.
movie like 21 Grams, for example. Fun
We
for
could
all.
sit here forever and tell you the stuff that is available. Why don't you go check it out? Register for a free trial membership right now at netflix.com/twit. We thank them for their support of Tech News Today. Google denies Panda hit on rival.
What?
Says the BBC News headline.
Why would a panda do anything like that? They're so cute and cuddly, and they eat bamboo.
I love BBC. I think they do a great job. I love their stories. Their headline writer needs to be fired.
Really?
They have some of the stupidest headlines.
What if he's
What
listening
this story is
right now?
about is that Google denies that their recent algorithm change was done on purpose to degrade the traffic of a rival search engine.
Okay, that makes sense.
That makes more sense than Google denies Panda hit. No
right.
pandas were killed in this story.
Well, I think that someone at the BBC, their head writer perhaps, said people love pandas. So let's just put
Little
that in the
SEO.
headline. They'll click, but it's still a very interesting story.
Here's what's going on. Microsoft owned chow.co.uk. You may remember them because they complained to the European Commission about Google's anti-competitive practices back in November. And an investigation was begun about Google. Now they say their web visibility is down 94% since the Google algorithm called Panda was implemented worldwide earlier this week. According to analysis by Search Metrics, it's down 94%. Systrix found an 81% drop, not as bad, but still pretty bad. Google says, we didn't single out Chow. Chow's like, aha, see, we complained to the European Commission, Euro, whatever you call it, and now they killed us. They killed us in the search results.
So,
Update
right.
is meant to weed out content farms. Chow is not a content farm. It's a legitimate site that aggregates reviews for lots of different products so that you can compare them side by side and get an aggregate rating and see what people are saying about things as disparate as cameras and cleaning products.
Yeah, but this is an algorithm. Okay, it could make a mistake. Is it within the realm of possibility that Google has it out for Microsoft? Yeah, Possibly. But then again, there was a lot of sites that got taken down, like eHow, which actually does have good content on there, and some other sites like I guess Electric Pig that was doing quite well even after this kind of algorithm change. So I don't know if they singled them out, but
that's the thing, right? These search metrics are saying they're gone from 94% of the results that they used to be on, but maybe those results were crap. Electric Pig says, look, comparing our traffic from Google for the week that Panda was implemented, we're only down 0.5% versus the week before. That suggests most of the keywords search metrics are measuring us against weren't being clicked anyway, and our best performing stuff is still doing business. So I want to know what Xiao's web traffic is like from Google.
Yeah, the other question is, how good is the actual site? Like, how is the service? If the service is no good, maybe it deserves to get downgraded. I've never used the actual site. I don't know how it performs, in the UK. Maybe you guys know how it is.
I'm not familiar with it either, besides this story. But yeah, if there are sites that have also been downgraded that are saying, listen, our traffic and subsequent revenues really aren't an issue, at least at this time, and you think, I'm inclined to think that Google would not do something so blatantly against Xiao when Xiao has already brought up this, they have a lawsuit out against Google saying that you're being unfair to us. That's a little...
It's a little obvious.
Yeah. I mean, it's...
Maybe they think it's so obvious no one will believe they did it on purpose.
I feel like Google is, putting out fires everywhere right now and is not out to get Xiao. And maybe I'm being naive, but they weren't the only ones affected.
I hesitate with saying Google would never do anything bad, because of course they might. They are a big company and lots of moving parts going on, and they've got business interests that they want to protect.
I don't feel that this is some sort of retaliation.
Xiao is some big competitor to Google that they would be after to crush them particularly.
Yeah.
That's what doesn't fit for me.
I can see the Google executives being like, these guys again, it's not about you.
Yeah. Google's got other problems in South Korea. 2 South Korean search companies have filed an antitrust complaint against Google with the Fair Trade Commission of the Republic of Korea, claiming Google is pressuring companies to not preload their applications. NHN and DOM are the 2 companies. NHN runs South Korea's top search engine. Google denies that they're pressuring anyone in particular not to include anybody's apps. There is the Android agreement, when you want to run the official version from Google, that you have to do certain things like make the default search engine be Google.
In the United States, we've seen Google removed from Android. We've seen Bing-powered Android devices out there. So I don't know if Google's out there in Korea saying, no, you guys shouldn't be doing this. But, they could easily be suggesting, and people are just going with it. I don't know what's actually going on here. Yeah, but if you are the top South Korean search engine, you want to get on these phones. You want people to use your service because you don't want to artificially lose market share because Google has this influence on telecoms there.
Especially because apparently 7 out of 10 new phones sold in Korea are now running Android.
Yeah, apparently after the iPhone, smartphones really took off in South Korea.
I think this one has a little more to it. I think it's possible that Google is walking a close line of, like you say, suggesting that maybe you wouldn't want to put these other applications on there without pressuring, but then that could be construed as pressure. And if you're the #1 search company in South Korea and all of a sudden all the phones have Google search on them, that would worry me.
This is what the FTC is for, right? We'll see what the country comes up with. That's their job. Fair Trade Commission. So.
Yep. U.S. Chamber of Commerce event has been going on, and the feds showed up to unveil the final version of the National Strategy for Trusted Identities in Cyberspace. They put out a draft in January, I think we mentioned on Tech News Today, and the idea would be to solve the problem of having to remember all the passwords and being able to prove who you are online.
Yeah, it took a really long time for a lot of people to get comfortable with online purchases, and this kind of thing is supposed to allow for online mortgage payments and other really substantial events going on.
Accessing health records and things like that.
Yeah, so this is an interesting idea. The other thing is the government made sure several times to mention that this is not something they're going to be running.
So the government is enforcing a digital identity on everyone in the country, right?
No, nothing close to that. They are simply giving the ideas for the private sector to implement this.
You will have to have this number tattooed on your forehead, right?
No. Unless, I guess, the private sector goes with that.
This is the mark of the beast, right,
Stop
Iyaz?
spreading fear, Merritt.
No, they are bending over backwards to saying this is not a set of imposed rules. It's a voluntary framework. Nobody has to participate, and even the setup of this is going to be done by the private sector. They just want to set up an easier way to prove who you are online, and the way it's proposed to work sounds really good to me. You could have multiple identities even. If say you want to have a banking identity that's separate from your social networking identity. You can have multiple identities, use one to sign up with like the really serious stuff that has different information because you're going to control what information is associated with each identity than the one that you say use to sign into Facebook or Twitter or something like that. But the end result is that you would end up with an easier way to sign in. That doesn't mean that you have to remember a bunch of passwords. And when the Department of Defense moved away from passwords to a smart card solution, they saw network intrusions drop by 46% because people weren't socially engineering passwords or hacking them or brute forcing them.
The problem with all the passwords, you have to keep them organized, or you get lazy, you have the bad habits, and fraud's a lot easier. But with hardware like a smart card or something, a lot harder for that until, I guess, somebody tries to counterfeit them.
I think this is a good idea, and I think the government really is doing their best to try to make sure that it's implemented correctly by saying, look, it's going to be voluntary. You're going to have total control over what information is associated with the IDs, and you can have as many IDs as you want. I mean, it defeats the purpose if you have 100 IDs because then you have to keep track of all of those.
On the other plus side, the government's actually looking forward to more and more online transactions becoming a real thing. I mean, e-signatures has been a real hot topic in the legal sector, so it'd be nice to actually be able to sign things digitally. Maybe we could kill the fax machine after this. That would be great. Yeah,
because honestly, the fax machine is a stupid alternative to the internet, but people rely on it because of things like signatures and verification, even though it's the same thing. It is a little internet. All it's doing is making a digital copy of a page and sending it. It's easily
If I could e-file my taxes this morning by typing out my name and the date and pressing file, we don't need fax machines.
Yep, absolutely. All right, finishing up with some video game numbers. MPD comes out with their numbers. Now, MPD used to release the totals for every console. They don't do that anymore, so can't tell you significantly who's winning until we get a little more information. But Nintendo told USA Today they sold 400,000 3DS units last month. They also told Bloomberg they sold 440,000 3DS units last month.
So it's somewhere over 400,000.
Somewhere in there. MPD reported 3DS sold 100,000 less than the Nintendo DS sold in its launch month in November 2004. So most people are reporting the 400,000 number. But the other thing MPD pointed out is that the 3DS generated more money because of the profit margin on it.
Yeah, I think it's what, $259 or $250 for a device, and you have to buy all new games if you want to take advantage of the 3DS. So I could see people really loving the gimmick of it. And it's backwards compatible with other Nintendo systems, I'd imagine.
Mixed results for the gaming industry in general. Total game console sales rose from 440.6 million last year to 495.4 million in March of this year. That's a 12% gain. Accessories grew 13% over last year. However, physical game sales dropped 16% from $875.7 million last year to $734.5 this year. So people buying game consoles in greater numbers, but not buying games.
Well, this study didn't count downloadable games, so that's one of the things. And the other thing is, I've been kind of curious about this. Does this mean that people are renting more games? Are they using their consoles because they're buying a lot of them? Are they using them more for media machines? Because they have a lot of functionality. Netflix, and you could, chat with your friends on it. You can do so many other things.
Hulu Plus on Xbox?
PS3. I never play a game on it. It's all about media.
PS3 is my Blu-ray player, too. Yeah.
So these are great. I mean, these machines have become like the all-in-one box. That's what Sony has been gunning for years, and Xbox has really come a long way. So maybe that's why they're buying consoles, because they're really a cheap option for a set-top box.
In other words, for other reasons than gaming.
Yeah.
Also, I think your point about downloadable content is a good one, too. On all of these platforms, you can download games that you don't have to go to the store to buy. That's a whole lot more convenient and cheaper. Those games aren't as expensive as the $60 you plunk down at the store. And in a separate report today, Flurry estimates that iOS and Android's share of mobile gaming grew from 5% in 2009 to 10% in 2010, while portable non-phone gaming shrunk from 24% to 16%. So folks are just not buying as many games in the mobile sector already for things like the DS and the PSP. So that's going to bring down your physical sales as well.
Are portable consoles, like, are they completely doomed, kind of like MP3 players at this point? Are they going to converge completely with phones, or do you guys think there's still a market for that?
Well, I mean, it's kind of like the same argument with, do we need flip cams in addition to mobile phones? I mean, I think probably eventually it's all going to be one thing.
Maybe, but I mean, gaming is about a platform, like a very specific platform that you buy into. A camera's a camera. Camera, you know what I mean? It's not a whole platform with a whole set of supported games.
Sure. But I mean, I would say the majority of my game playing happens on a tablet right now, which I use for a lot of other things too. So it's not a gaming console, but it can be used as a gaming console if I see fit.
It's funny, when you first said that, I started to say probably the most of my gaming is done on a desktop. But then I realized
it's actually on a tablet.
I'm not thinking of all the games. It's when I think of games, I'm thinking World of Warcraft or a Civilization or Crisis, those kind of games. I definitely play all those games right now, mostly on a desktop. I don't use my consoles for that kind of gaming. But I'm not counting Vampires Live or Tetris or Wii Rule, which I bet if I counted up the minutes, I'm spending more minutes playing those sorts of games on the iPad than I am other games on my desktop.
Yeah, it's like we don't consider them real games because they're quote-unquote casual games.
Yes.
Yeah.
Some
Is
people
there
hate that
any?
term,
Is
but-
there? Do you pay a premium to download a game rather than pick up a physical game? I mean, that just seems like a no-brainer that I would download a game.
No, they're usually cheaper because they're usually simpler games. They're similar to the casual games you get
There
on
are
mobile.
fewer that you can download, is what you're saying. But that'll just continue to
Actually,
rise.
there's tons that you can download. There's probably fewer overall.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the downloadable games are great. All right, let's move on to the news fuse. You've heard the rumors about a Google Music service, but it starts to look like it's not going to happen anytime soon. According to sources familiar with the matter, Google's negotiations with the music industry aren't going well. Sources describe the negotiations with words like broken and backwards, a lot of them pointing at what Amazon did as being a deal breaker in this situation. We'll see if Google Music can overcome that and come into existence. Google, of course, not talking.
According to MSpot's CEO Darren Suey, you'll be able to stream movies on MSpot's Movie Club on the same day as the movie's DVD release. The company already works with Sprint to provide streaming movies and has its own apps for iOS, Android, and BlackBerry. The only catch is that there will be a limit as to how many movies you could stream per month, and the payment plans are numerous and they're complicated, as they tend to be.
Movie Club, not like Netflix on
They're
that.
working on it.
That's an interesting idea. Discover just introduced a person-to-person payment system called Money Messenger. All you need is a Discover card and the other person's email address or mobile phone number. The other person needs to already have or has to set up a PayPal account. They can get the payment and then set up a PayPal account later. And since this is a purchase on the Discover card, the payer actually gets cash rewards back for paying the other person. So it's a nice incentive to pay back.
Yeah, give me money. You'll get cash back.
It's like PayPal, but with an extra step, and one person wins.
Well, you only need a phone number and things.
Yeah. Discover what it can do for you. Hey, let's get litigious. Garen Magurian is suing Apple on behalf of himself and other parents and guardians who got hit with in-app charges after downloading a free app that was subsequently used by money-grubbing children. The complaint is a fun read with gems like Apple entices the child with a free download of a gaming platform that then offers the sale of irresistible game currency in order to enjoy the game as it was designed. Resistance is futile. Apple will charge your children.
Remember when someone asked President Obama if he had an iPad, and he was like, yeah, I have an iPad, I'm President of the United States. Well, apparently the President of the United States is not too thrilled with the current White House technology. While speaking at a fundraiser, Obama said, I'm the President of the United States. Where's the fancy buttons and stuff and the big screens coming up? Doesn't happen. He went on to complain that the White House is 30 years behind in technology, so it looks like all of those movies and TV shows lied to us and to our president about how advanced government technology actually is.
He needs like the set designers of 24 to show up to be like, oh, screens everywhere.
30 years behind. What was the hot computer 30 years ago?
What was that 30 years ago?
Yeah.
1981?
81.
The TI-99 4A.
That's what they're running the White House on.
Oh, that's a
pretty
national security
sweet,
problem. We
actually.
can't say this stuff out loud. A while back, some websites were replaced with a message from Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, saying the domain was seized. Well, a newly released Firefox plugin called Mafia Fire, because fire melts ice, that's their name, will automatically redirect links of seized domains to their news sites. Mafia Fire's site says it introduced the plugin for fairness and chides the music and movie industries for the domain seizures.
Fans of Portal 2 were incredibly excited today when a countdown from their alternate reality game used to promote the upcoming title finally got near the end. Speculation ran rampant about what would definitely be the last phase of the game before the April 19th release of Portal 2. Anticipation then turned to rage when another countdown was revealed that encouraged fans to buy more Portal or Valve games and play them in an effort to speed up the reboot of GLaDOS and hasten the release of Portal 2. Points for saying we'll release it early if you buy a bunch of our games. Points lost for commercial crassness. I rarely say this, but probably a bad move, Valve. Salve. Whatever your name
Salvia,
is.
don't do it.
Not your
Oracle's
salvation,
chief
Valve.
corporate architect Edward Scriven has announced the company plans to make OpenOffice.org a purely community-based open source project, and Oracle will no longer offer a commercial version of the productivity suite. Left unsaid is whether Oracle will reach out to the LibreOffice project, which split off in September after Oracle acquired Sun.
I should point out that I said just now that they were that Valve was wanting to get you to buy more Valve games. They are trying to get you to buy indie games, so it's not money that goes into their own pockets. But people are still kind of pissed, pretty much. All right, finishing up here with a Kinect hack, the Kinect-driven Jelly Bean armchair.
That's right. If we put up the video, you will see what could be one of the laziest ideas ever. It's an armchair that's being controlled by a Kinect. It can actually, you can drive the chair because you never have to get out of your armchair, and you can actually make it recline by using your hands. So but you don't actually have to touch anything other than the sensors on the Kinect. The Kinect will notice what you're doing. I think it's an odd idea, but I could see a lot of gamers loving this.
I think it's an awesome idea. I don't have to get up to go get a beer.
No, but you could just put a fridge next to you. You don't need to invest in a Kinect for that, do you?
Isn't the point of a recliner to recline? And this doesn't seem very comfortable to me.
Really? You're complaining that this is too hard?
Yes. When I'm reclining, I'm reclining. And if you got a remote, then you can just recline. You don't even have to lift your hand. You just press a button.
I feel like I can't navigate around my living room with something like this. I'd have to rearrange all the furniture, get rid of some stuff. There's a rug. It's going to catch on the rug. Come on.
It's the Roomba problem. I have the same problem with the Roomba. It's like it sounds great in theory, and then you put it in a real place, and it's like, oh, well, I've got all this weird furniture and strange angles, and it just can't deal.
Stuck in a little triangle in the corner.
Yeah, I believe when the SDK for the Kinect comes out, they're going to actually let these plans out. So if you want to make one, you'll be able to do it. I'm not sure why, but you could.
Right.
Oh, I'm convinced many people will want to do this.
Because
Just to say, I just drove my armchair over there. Got myself a beer.
Not a problem. Didn't have to move the fridge. Let's move on to the calendar.
Oh, it didn't play. Well, I guess we're moving on to the calendar without a sound.
That's okay. This first calendar item needs no sound because Anonymous is still planning their Sony boycott for April 16th. That's tomorrow. If you go to their Facebook page, they now have it's creeping in on 4,000 attendees. Yeah. It all looks like their real names, too. So, okay. Anonymous, they're
Not
at
so
it.
anonymous on Facebook, right?
It's a trap.
We have an anniversary to celebrate, everybody, and this is a biggie. File Transfer Protocol, or FTP, marks its 40th anniversary tomorrow, Saturday, April 16th. Happy anniversary, FTP. We love ya. The Venerable Network Protocol was first proposed by Abe Busan, hope I'm saying your name right, of MIT in April 1971, way back when, before I was even a twinkle in anyone's eye.
I was 1 year old.
Well, as a means to transfer large files between disparate systems that made up ARPANET.
Yay, FTP.
Yay, FTP. Froyo-based LG Thrive gets to call itself AT&T's first prepaid smartphone, is shipping this Sunday, April 17th. Verizon eliminates its one-year contract option on April 17th. So if you want something else, hurry up. Get them while they still exist if you don't want the 2-year. IE9 will get foisted upon you, physically hurled at your head.
Take it.
As part of a Windows update next week.
Still upstate.
Upstate, yeah. Only if you're
In
upstate
Buffalo.
New York.
Yeah.
Okay, good to know.
No one else is affected by this. I'm just kidding. I just said upstate. I meant update. You won't be forced into it, though. All kidding aside, a splash screen is going to let you either install or decline or delay the upgrade. You won't see any of this, though, if you're a Windows XP user because IE9 only runs on Vista and 7. And just in time for Earth Day, the Samsung Replenish is shipping May 8th for $50. It comes with a fully recyclable packaging and casing and includes 34.6% post-consumer recycled plastic content. And there's a postage paid envelope to recycle your old phone. So you don't have to throw it in the landfill and have the battery seep out or anything like that. So Replenish for the Earth. Thank you, Samsung.
Do it for the Earth.
Do it. Do it now.
Well, you don't have to buy that phone, but do something for the Earth.
Yeah.
Let's move on to our voicemails. 260-TNT Show, a free local call in Butler, Indiana, is our number. And if you would like to hear an example of a good voicemail, check this one out.
Hey, TNT Show. I just finished listening to the April 14th show, and I want to thank Iyaz and Sarah for taking time to task for defending his playbook purchase to thousands of us when he knows that BlackBerry should have released an email client at the very least with their tablet. That is all. Goodbye.
Okay.
Zing,
And that's the
Merritt.
example of a
Sing
good
and a
voicemail.
song.
Not necessarily a good example of,
Oh,
of
not
a
anymore?
voicemail.
Not anymore.
No, you don't.
Suddenly, that's a horrible
It's a horrible-
voicemail. Suddenly.
Take that.
I still believe in the playbook.
You can join
I
the
don't care what you
co-CEOs
say.
in defending the playbook all
Me,
day.
Mike Lazaridis, Jim Balsillie,
It's not fair.
the three musketeers.
Of unfair. It's unfair to make fun of.
Unfair. Actually, Balsillie kind of did some damage control yesterday on that whole thing.
Yeah, he's been trying to, but he
Yeah.
keeps saying it's not fair. The
It's
negative
not fair.
reviews.
On to the emails. TNT at twit.tv. Glenn writes in, says, "Hey, Tom and gang."
Hey.
We actually wear the same colors
Tom and the
walk
gang,
down the
yeah.
street, snapping our fingers.
What color do we claim anyway?
Gray.
I thought it was Twit Blue.
Yeah, actually, it's true.
Yeah.
Iyaz,
You're out of uniform,
You're out of
Iyaz.
the gang.
Well, that's why I don't get a full desk.
He's in some sort of a pink gang. I'm not really sure
Glenn-
where
Glenn-
they hang out.
I'm sorry, Glenn. Glenn points out that the YouTube squirrel is actually, we talked about this yesterday, the YouTube video about copyright. The YouTube squirrel is actually Happy Tree Friends, which is a not kid-friendly, very psychotic cartoon. YouTube must have paid a lot of money to get the rights itself for Happy Tree Friends, as I believe one of the first takedowns that were issued were for Happy Tree Friends. Although I agree with what you said, you missed the whole irony of using Happy Tree Friends to talk about copyright issues. I'm kind of shocked that nobody knew this at TWiT, as HTF was one of the first viral videos ever. He also says, again, not enough Amiga news. We'll work on that.
Yes, more Amiga news.
You knew it was Happy Tree
Yeah,
Friends.
in fact, some of you were talking about it in the chat room while we were talking about this story yesterday, and I had responded to a couple of you because I had made the point that it seems kind of cartoonish, and you'd think a lot of people would be like, this is a cartoon, I don't want to sit through this. It's ineffective. And they said, Happy Tree Friends is not for kids. This is very graphic, and don't you remember? I do, but I think that there are a lot of people who have never heard of Happy Tree Friends, and it still looks like, hi, I'm the little
Yeah.
squirrel, and I want to tell you about...
And I can vouch for that. I didn't recognize it as Happy Tree Friends, even though I had heard of them before, and I didn't realize that's what it was. It does make a difference in the underlying message that they're
Right.
sending. They're trying to be hip, but
I don't think...
most YouTube users would recognize
exactly.
it. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
certainly not.
There you go. All right, thanks everybody for watching. Sarah's going off on vacation. We won't see you all next week.
It's true. I am going to Hawaii. I leave on Sunday, and I'll be back the following Sunday, so I will not be on TNT next week. So I'm so sorry, everybody.
But there is iPad today.
The show will suffer horribly in my absence. I'm just, what can you do?
We got
Sometimes you need to unplug.
Jason Heiner, Becky Worley, Scott Johnson, Sasha Segan, all lined up to try to fill your shoes.
Thank you. No, you guys are going to be
Don't
great.
forget to leave your shoes.
I hope that when I come back, my desk is still mine, and you haven't been like, Sarah, we don't actually need
Sarah,
you.
Yeah, we'll try
I'm
hard
sorry,
to
we
work
don't have
on
any record of
letting you keep your desk. Yeah,
We don't know you.
try.
Please
Sarah-
Replaced by an
leave.
air
We're
hockey
about
table.
to do a
Yeah.
show, prep.
That's it for this episode of Tech News Today, though. We will see you on Monday. All this but Sarah, that is. You can find us on the web at twit.tv/TNT. You can email us, TNT@twit.tv. And don't forget that phone number, 260-TNT Show. You can take me to task. It's fine. I'm used to it. I'll see you Monday.
Yeah, you heard him.
Yeah.
Bring it.